káàsán o ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa, orúkọ mi ni Olúgbénró Bello láti ìlú Èkó ni mo ti ń ké sí yín.
Good day, my name is Amma Bookman.
And this is Ilé Ẹ̀kọ́ Ọmọlúàbí, promoting African development through the restoration of African philosophy, culture, and ethics.
We are excited to begin our conversation with you today. Thank you so much for joining us. Our honored guest is Madam Damilola Adebonojo. She is the founder of Alamoja Yoruba, where she teaches Yoruba in Lagos, Nigeria. She's an independent language specialist who translates Yoruba, subtitles movies, and translate broadcast news into Yoruba. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Iyawa, would like you to just tell us a bit about your background, about yourself, early years.
Okay. I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm a Lagosian. My both parents are from Lagos State, so I grew up here in Lagos. And during my secondary school days, I loved Yoruba so much, and I had the name Iya Yoruba right from secondary school.
Wow.
So whenever it was time for mathematics, well, you see me hide, but when it's time for Yoruba, I'm always at the forefront. I always go to call the teacher and all of that. So that is how my interest for Yoruba language grew. And one thing that really boosted my interest was my love for tone marks, diacritics. I learned the tone marks at the age of 10, and I've known it since then. So that has been a part of me right from childhood. And
The tone
when it was time to go to
different marks
Yes,
in the
yes.
words. Oh my God.
When it was time for me to go to the university, of course, people discouraged me. I wanted Yoruba right from time because I didn't see myself doing anything else. But people discouraged me, do another course, do all of that. And I got admission into the university for another course for public administration. But as at that year, there were so many students in that department. So even though we were given that course, were admitted for that course, the students were too much, and there were so many faculties with very few students. So what they did was to try to reduce departments, and they tried to look at our weaknesses, our strengths, and then they told us, we're not going to accept you into this faculty again. So you know what, just check back next Monday. Wherever your name falls, that is where you are studying. And then when the Monday came, I got there and I saw my name in Yoruba, and I was so excited, like, wow. So this
Wow. That's
yes.
amazing.
So I knelt down and I was like, thank God, this is what I want.
And you know, your
Wow.
mother cannot argue with you about that now.
Exactly.
No, nobody.
So at that moment, I knew it was something that is more like divine. I felt this is what I'm called to do. So I continued and I enjoyed myself in the university days. But to be very honest, people say Yoruba is simple. They say that a lot.
Is what?
They say Yoruba is too simple. They will tell you, Shebi Yoruba tan so ini, Yoruba lo work on school, but Yoruba is not an easy task. I tell people not to look at us like we are learning, we're studying something that we are all speaking. What we are learning in the university as at that time is far from what we speak. It was even in the university that we get to know that, okay, so these things are actually not like this. We are saying it the wrong way. We are writing it the wrong way. So it is far from the normal conception of it is simple. So when I finished my university, I served in a far state, Abia State. When I got there, I could not teach Yoruba. I taught English language and literature because they told me, you will come teach Yoruba for you. And then when I returned home, Alamoja Yoruba started briefly. It wasn't just studying because I really wanted a perfect name, and I waited for like 5 months before the name emerged. So, and the moment that name came, I knew this was the name I needed. And that was how Alamoja Yoruba started. But before I started Alamoja Yoruba.
Tell us what that means.
Yes? Alamoja means somebody somebody who knows something to the extreme. Let's assume this is a ruler, but I don't just know what we have within the line of this ruler. What I know is beyond the length of this ruler. So that is the meaning of Alamoja. Somebody who knows something to the extreme, beyond what people think it is. Ẹni tó mọ nǹkan já ló ń pè ní Alamoja.
Alamoja, Oda, Otiyewa.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
So,
and then, yeah.
Oh, well, okay. No, I want you to finish your thought and then I will ask you a question. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I'm almost done with my story because right after Alamoja came into existence, then I just decided, let's go for a master's degree in Yoruba. And then here we are.
Wonderful. Oh my God. So why did you tell us, why would it be so difficult for you to get support to learn Yoruba as a profession? Why do you think you face all of these challenges? For those of us who may not know, why the resistance to this decision?
Okay, so you are asking me to tell you why it is difficult to learn Yoruba?
No. Why do you think people around you did not support your decision to learn Yoruba and to study it as a profession?
They saw it as a simple thing. Why would you waste money on a simple thing? They feel we are speaking Yoruba. What else do you want to learn beyond what we are speaking?
Okay.
So that was the point.
So people understand that English speakers learn English as a language. I studied English even though I speak English. That was my major.
I don't see that as a big deal. But they saw me studying Yoruba as a big deal. They were saying it's not necessary, you're wasting money.
Okay, interesting. So our viewers would like to know, why is you and an undergraduate, did you think you could have issues, maybe getting a job or whatever? I mean, typically, a typical Nigerian parent will talk about their children being doctors, engineers, and stuff like that. Did that really was that a point of concern while you were in school?
No, because our lecturers used to motivate us like, don't worry, when you graduate, there are so many, because my degree was Yoruba and Communication Arts. So they were telling us that if you don't work in a media house, you're going to be a teacher. At least if you're not a teacher, you can even be a lecturer. We had so many options. I was looking at myself as a translator, as a subtitler, as an interpreter, as a transcriber, as so many things. I saw myself in so many forms. So because I knew I could easily pick one of those branches and just focus on it.
So I found out about you because of your Twitter account. I don't remember how I stumbled upon it, but then I see you every day. You are teaching different words in Yoruba to promote your work. And from what I gathered when I was looking at your profile, you teach children. Tell me about that work. Tell me about your teaching work. You have a summer camp. You have a weekend program. I believe you also do online instruction. Can you tell me about all of the different ways you are teaching Yoruba?
Well, I'm going to start with teaching children. I never saw myself teaching children because I don't used to have that patience. But I tried it once. I got contracted to teach children once, and I enjoyed it. I bonded with those children easily, and I knew I really want to do children as well. I do adults a lot. Most of my students are adults. So like 70% are adults, so I have just 30% children. But when I did the first summer camp, I was like, wow, this is it. I have to continue with children. And then the children will not want to leave Iya Yoruba as well. So children, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. I just saw that there's a level of patience required to work with children. And not everybody has that patience. The summer camp, people still ask me, how were you able to do summer camp online? It was so simple because I just had to mute everybody. I won't allow them to mute themselves. It is only when I need to talk that I'll allow you to unmute yourself, because I know children can be so funny and then the noise will just go wild. Everybody will be making noise. But it was interesting, and the weekend programs too has been amazing. They are eager to learn. What we do is to trigger them to learn. We boost their confidence to learn. there are so many children who seem uninterested. They will say, why must I have had students ask me, children, why do I have to learn Yoruba? Let's learn Chinese, let's learn this, so why do I have to learn Yoruba? They ask that question, but I tell them Yoruba is your father's language. And if you don't learn Yoruba, you'll be lost. So you have to learn Yoruba. Okay. And they will just start touching it until they get interested in the language.
Great.
So how do you teach? What is the medium? Is it mostly online? It's mostly online. Do you do face-to-face? Do you have courses that you do? Do you go to the people's house?
That was a brilliant question. Before Corona, I used to. I'm sure Mr. Bello can testify to the Lagos traffic. I used to juggle from one end of Lagos to another. But then when Corona came, COVID, people were asked to stay at home. I teach online before COVID. I've been using Zoom for 2 years to teach.
Right.
So it wasn't during the COVID. So I've learned to immerse myself in Zoom to the extent that I keep looking at the possibilities of doing things on Zoom. Before, I never even learned about other mediums. I was so immersed in Zoom, like, I was like, okay, I'll do this. I'll pay for premium. Let's see how this works and all of that. So when COVID emerged and people could not go out, well, summer camp, I've been wondering, how would I do this online? How would this happen? But it happened because I was able to explore the options of making it happen. But before COVID, most of my classes were probably physical. I'll have to go to Lekki, go to BI, from BI to Aja, like that, to different parts of Lagos. But then when it's now it's just virtual. I don't go out anymore. So,
wow.
So it's virtual now.
Okay. So it's interesting. I mean, we talk about having 30% of your students as children. So I think a number of us are worried right now that we may be losing this language. I mean, like you said, everybody want to appear Western or something, and it's not cool, so to speak, to be speaking in some homes, right? And it's totally wrong. I don't know if you have managed to contact anybody in government on how your program can have some kind of endorsement from the Ministry of Education or something, so that it will be like a policy that is driven by the government.
Well, I am a student member of the Yoruba Students and Studies and Association of Nigeria, YSAN, and as a student member, my lecturers, because I've not rounded up my master's degree because of COVID.
Okay.
So we still talk, and they mentioned is that we have put this thing forward to the government many times. They should make Yoruba language at least compulsory in Lagos State.
Okay.
It should be a compulsory subject so that I used to teach in a school and the children don't appreciate Yoruba language. It's not their fault, it's their parents' fault, because the parents are not making it appear as it should be to the children.
Okay.
So I also tried to work with someone to organize a competition, a Yoruba competition, before COVID happened. We were planning to make something happen during probably April, May, but then COVID happened, it changed, it ruined all the plans because we really need the children to participate. And that's because there was no direct contact in the government. That reason was the reason why I started the Yoruba Summer Camp.
Oh, okay.
The Yoruba Summer Camp, the first edition was last year, and it's held in Lagos, in Freedom Park, Lagos. So, yes, and the focus was on children of that a particular class of the citizens who don't speak Yoruba. Most of them come home for summer and do all of that. Most of the children we had in the summer camp last year, they came home for summer. So that was like part of their summer routine. So from abroad, yes, they came home to Nigeria for summer, and then they saw that their parents got to see the information probably online or probably through the flyer, and then they brought the children. This year they were calling, but then we could not do physical, so they had to do virtual. So that was the main reason, because there was, what the government looks like many times. When you don't have somebody, some things will happen. When you don't have the connection, some things will happen. And I decided to make something happen. That was why I started the summer camp.
So you
Sure.
said 70% of your clientele are adults. Who are the adults? What are their backgrounds? What makes them interested in it?
Most of them are Black Americans who have discovered their roots. Many people have done their DNA and then they are saying, I'm Yoruba. I need to speak my language before I come home. I need to do this, so I need to come home. But before I come home, I want to be able to converse with people, and they are learning.
They are right there behind you.
Of course. And it's been amazing with them because they really flow well. They are so eager to learn and they are so willing and very ready to learn. You know, it's one reason, it's one point for you to want to learn something. And then it's another point for you to want to sacrifice towards learning that thing. These
Sure.
people are really sacrificial. They really want to learn and they are ready to give it all it takes, including their time to learn. I have one of my students that we both compiled almost a textbook together, just in the process of, and he's really doing it. So those people, they are adults. I have them in Canada, I have them in the UK, I have them in the US, I have them in Mexico, spread all around the globe like that, and they just discover their roots to learn. And even apart from them, I have free students because I discovered that many people probably don't. I know people have tried a lot of teachers and maybe they are not satisfied. So I decided, okay, let's do a free class for adults. I have a free class on Facebook for people who want to learn to come and learn. And if they really want more classes, then they can come if my schedule allows it. We can learn again.
Okay.
So I just really who have discovered that their root is Yoruba, they are from Yoruba descent, let them come and learn their language, let them converse the right way as well.
Follow up to that. So what do the local people think of the interests of Black diasporans in learning the language?
Well, I've not had
You have
the opportunity to I've not had the opportunity to discuss with our people, our wee people, like we say, on think about diasporans learning. But from the little I've gathered from family experience, many times you want to teach and then your family members will just come and say, who is this person you are teaching again? And then they'll be like, Oyinbo is learning Yoruba. And then I just end up explaining that, okay, wait, this person is not Oyinbo. They are of the African descent, so thing happened, slave trade. I have to start explaining that they are retracing themselves and they are learning the language. I have to start telling that. So I'm sure that thing I'm experiencing from home is what I'm going to encounter when I get out. So people will say,
exactly.
So that's the point.
Thank you. That's a good answer. It's very important. We are not
fantastic. Okay, so talking about Alamoja, as in knowing beyond, the standard gauge for the rest of us, will you share some of those things that you learned in the university that the regulars like me will not know about?
You mean the regular native speakers?
Come again? As in, so you said that, yeah, you're a regular Yoruba speaker like me who didn't go to university to study Yoruba. Could you share some of the things that...
Yes, one basic thing I used to tell everybody is that most Yoruba speakers, our native speakers, we have 70% illiterates in Yoruba. They are literate, so they are well educated, but when it comes to their language, they are illiterate.
Really?
They can't read their language, they can't write their language right. And when it's time for them to write, they put SH together. You see them write Oshe. They write a lot of things that are really annoying. They customize their names.
Yes, I see that. That's quite
I once did a Facebook Live video. That day I was so annoyed because I saw a friend request and I'm like, okay, this has to stop. Please, if your name is customized, I'm not just sending you.
So somebody whose name is Lekan, Lekan, he will write Lekan, Laycon. What for?
I saw that. That is flying everywhere on Twitter. So it's really annoying. And I discovered that when I made that video, people changed. I had people who reached out. They reached out to me and they were like, we're so sorry. We didn't know it was like this. And I'm telling them that, okay, let's assume your parents are really praying for you now. I'm praying for Molola and then Is God, well, it's a joke on the lighter part of it. Is God going to know that your name has changed to Homolola and all of that? So we really need to, it's not even portraying the meaning of our names.
No, it
My
doesn't
name
make
is
sense.
Oluwadamilola. Oluwadamilola means the Lord has bestowed me with wealth. Now imagine me changing my name to Oluwadamilola. Not nice. There's no meaning in it again, and that's one thing I really stand up against. So we don't value our names. We don't write well. I mean, the native speakers, we don't read well, and we really need to work on that. And they are not ready to learn. They don't take correction. That is another thing. 4 points.
Too bad.
So, I think a lot of people obviously might feel, I'm from Haiti actually originally, and it's the same way everybody wants to learn French, but I find that sometimes it's like we don't even learn French really well because it's not our native tongue and you don't really speak it at home. And so you go to school, then you start learning French, but it's like your school language. And then you never really learn to write and think elevated thoughts in your own language. So there's a way in which you're almost linguistically incomplete as an adult because you never really kind of owned one thing. Do you see that, and how do you think it affects Nigeria's development, this sort of language schizophrenia in a way?
I'm going to start from, you see that Nigeria's development, I'm going to start from myself. I hated mathematics when I was growing up. Why? Because I never understood whatever they were teaching me in math. Well, I still do, except if I'm counting money. That's when it's nice. So I didn't like math. Now, I once stumbled on a video where somebody was explaining mathematics in Yoruba, and I connected so well.
Whoa.
And I'm like, imagine I was taught mathematics like this. I would be a genius. Because Yoruba Mugbo Dada.
Yeah, I'm learning.
So that thing is really affecting our nation as well, because imagine a lot of people, we have a lot of dropouts who felt and it's really going to be perfect because those people you're teaching, they will bond easily because it's their language. It's just like reading the book in Yoruba. There's a way it speaks to you differently than reading it in English. You connect so well, or reading any book in English and Yoruba. You can imagine me putting Fagua's book in English. It's fine for English, but I can't.
To never convey it, never.
Exactly.
Which book is that you were just showing?
Dio Fagua.
Can you hold it up for me?
What the F?
What is it? Okay,
Okay.
So
and what does that mean?
It means
What do you get
the
to
brave
why?
hunter in the forest. Okay, a brave hunter in the forest of the gods, or a brave hunter in the forest of the gods.
And
Okay, but this particular.
That is why it's here.
All right. This particular book, you could get the Wole Soyinka version of it, English.
Of course.
You can check it online. Yes, Wole Soyinka did it in English.
Forest of 1,000. Okay.
Yeah, of 1,000 something.
Months or something,
But
yeah.
it will never convey the same
like
meaning
that.
as what you have in the Yoruba version.
Fagua.
Yes.
So many people can't just handle formal education because they were not taught in their language.
True.
Yeah, I mean,
you can actually use Yoruba to teach English, which is what I do. I use English to teach Yoruba. Yes, I use English to teach Yoruba. Assuming I'm teaching Amma now and she does not understand Yoruba at all, I'll teach her with English. So why can't I teach
With
English
Yoruba.
with Yoruba?
In the classroom, it's an English class, but you teach with your. I mean, it could be the other way around. Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, that should be obvious. Like,
honestly, simple logic.
So earlier you were talking about efforts to get the government to make Yoruba a subject in schools, but I think we want to go further than that. That is, in any state that is in Yoruba, what is traditional Yoruba land, I would think that the language of instruction would be in Yoruba, and then English would be a subject that you learn, like Mandarin might be a subject, but you take all of your classes, history, science, math, should be in Yoruba. Is there a push to do that at all? Is there any organization working on this that you know of?
The same set of people that I mentioned, Yoruba Studies Association of Nigeria, they've pushed for that many times. They've tried to do that many times. Even a common dictionary. I don't know if you...
Nigeria?
Yes.
Okay.
Yoruba Studies Association of Nigeria. They've pushed to do that many times. But it's not just working. They have tried it so many times. In fact, most of them already gave up. I'm going to start with the issue of dictionaries. We don't have a particular dictionary in Yoruba language. They tried to do that, but they didn't give, there was no funding to do that. And it is not a one-man task. So there was, they are not just pushing them, they don't have this power. I think if they probably had somebody who was at the top, it would have been a done deal. But since we have to all lobby around or have to keep writing letters, keep doing this, it's not just, they've tried. That I know of, they have tried so well, but it's still not working.
What do you think people can do, both in Nigeria, but also I would say in the diaspora? I think that you might find that there are a lot of us who would want to support this association. I'm gonna, when we get off the call, we're gonna give Pete that information. We'll put it in the description box for people to go there as well, because I think this is something that our viewers would be interested in. What can we do? How can we help?
For the dictionary?
Anything. Dictionary would be one thing to be supporting, but also like supporting the notion that there ought to be language instruction in mother tongue, promoting the language. How can we get involved? Is there any way we can get involved?
I think we just need togetherness in the point where we have to just keep alerting the government. Let's do this. Let's do this. We don't want this. Let's do this. Let's do this. We have a lot of people that are protesting for a lot of things. I remember when we just make hashtags for a particular cause, do something, we create an hashtag and we do that. I think if something like that can happen and then we just keep hitting on it, the government will see it someday. And then in the area of probably creating a monolingual dictionary for Yoruba language, it is funding. The issue they have is funding, because I had a lecturer who had to fly down to Abuja. They did all the plan work. They were ready. They told me how it wanted to work, like a particular university will do one particular area of a subject area, another university. Professionals wanted to do it, but there was no funding, because it's something that they really need a lot of money to work on.
Do you know how much money?
Government was, I don't know, except I speak with one of my lecturers, I don't know.
Okay. So, but this nonchalant attitude from the people at the end of the affair, is there any particular reason? Why are they not interested? Why are they not bothered?
Because we all have different areas of interest. Some of our politicians are much more interested in entertainment industry. They don't even look at the language industry as if it's useful. Probably because when it's time for them to campaign, those in the entertainment industry will make it work quickly. They do that for them.
Okay.
But they could have at least done that for the language industry as well. They should not see us as irrelevant. But it's just like we don't have a particular set of people who are so interested in portraying, touchlighting our language. They are not interested in the languages. They're interested in other parts of the economy. They don't see the language industry as one. So they are not interested, and that is why it's like that.
Well, I think
so we need someone who is interested.
Okay.
It sounds to me that people don't understand the relationship between things like language and other aspects of the culture to economics? Maybe they just see that there is no connection. Do you see a connection? And if so, what is that connection?
The connection between what?
Between language and economics. Like why, if I say, so you go to somebody and you say, I'm not concerned about that. People need jobs, people need money. And they don't see how this is connected to the economics of the country. Do you see, can you make a case, for example, for why this would be an economic issue, not just the sort of side of it, hobby issue?
I'm thinking about that. Language industry. Take for instance the entertainment industry. Even in the entertainment industry that we're all clamoring about, there's still the branch of language. And the people who work in the language industry are very relevant in most parts of the economy.
True.
In the government houses, they need translators. I am a member of the Nigerian Institute of Translators and Interpreters. I once remember that they said they were going to push our act, the constitution, to include it that there should be a regular fee for translators. That is something that should have been balanced a long time ago. They need translators in the presidential level, the government, the state government, and all of that. They need language specialists, but they don't see it as important. It's just like meeting a Yoruba, an Hausa governor meeting a Yoruba governor, and then they don't see it as necessary, but it's actually necessary. They see it as one of those miscellaneous things. That is one point. The language industry is important, and we influence the economy if they believe it or not. It's just like me depending on the government now for something. I used to depend on the government for light. I used to depend on the government for this, for A, for B, for C. Now I no longer depend on the government. I just make those things happen by myself. So we pay taxes, even as we work in the language industry. So I don't see it as we are not contributing to the economy or something. It's just like they are seeing us as one of those miscellaneous sectors. They don't see as one of the basic sectors.
Okay.
Everybody is contributing to the economy, right? Everybody is. Even if you are a trader in the market, you are contributing to the economy. So that's it.
True. Okay. So I want to, okay, so when I was in secondary school, we had Yoruba teacher, Mr. Aremu, and we were told that he's a Babalawo, and we were told that anybody who studied Yoruba in school should be a Babalawo. Now, Babalawo is not even the focus, but I said that because it seems studying the language exposes you to everything that is concerning language, the culture, the values, and stuff like that. Maybe you could still shed more light on that.
Yes, the thing is that when you study Yoruba in university, there are courses. I think I did 4 IFA courses in the university. So it's just exposing us to how those things happen. Okay. If I had focused on that aspect of my study, then I would probably have been an initiate by now, because I loved it, but then I was really interested, but not to the extent of being an initiate. If I really wanted to know, I have a lot of good initiate friends. It's because I've been exposed and I see that these things are not evil. The fact that I studied Yoruba does not mean I'm Babalawo. I participated in the Eshu is not Satan campaign in 2018 because I knew Eshu is truly not Satan.
Eshu not say, okay, maybe we take that question again. Okay.
Okay. So it's just exposing us. There are so many courses that they will tell you to go to places where they are doing festivals. You have to go research on those, how the festival came into existence, Oro, Egungun, and all of that. So I think those are those things. And then there's a course as well that is like Ishegun. They tell us how things are done. So those things are joined together. They'll call you Mamalawo, of course, because when I am having it and I tell you to go and catch honey, put it inside something, mix it together, and then you rub it on the forehead. It's because we learned it in school. It does not mean we're Mamalawo or Babalawo, but then If you call me Mama Lawo, then he's welcome.
Okay, so maybe you could quickly speak about the issue not being. So in the Yoruba Bible, Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowther did a wonderful job, because I still read my Yoruba Bible, it's right here. And based on his work, he translated issue as Satan. Now, I've heard people talk about it should not be Satan, but one thing I also learned is that in character, because he's known to be cunning, is a messenger of God, which is actually in line with what is in the Bible. I mean, Satan is still a messenger of God, right? But because he's cunning, so they translate it. So Christians have developed that notion that issue is Satan. Maybe you could just help clear the air on that.
Well, the best thing I'll say is that issue is not Satan, and the issue is not Satan again. Simply because, well, every language, every culture has something, they have a common belief. I don't know if you try to check on that. There's this common belief. When we look at the history of creation in Yoruba and the history of creation in the Bible, there's something similar.
Very well. Very much.
So every culture has something that is really similar. So that is where the concept of Satan and issue being similar. Yes, I used to tell somebody, I wrote an article on that. I can share the article with you later.
Okay.
Who he is and who is not. Issue is like a middleman. I used to tell people issue is like a middleman. Or do I say a messenger? And issue is someone, when you tell a messenger, take, go and do this. The messenger has no right to say, why would I do that? So if you tell Eshu, take, go and do this, and you give Eshu the equipment, the things that Eshu needs to do that, Eshu will do it. And then if you come and you say, Eshu, take, somebody said, I should give you this. Eshu hears go. It does not hear come. That is the nature of Eshu.
Okay.
So imagine, because a lot of people use Eshu to do evil work, they will give Eshu Aji, which is like a forbidden item for Eshu. People do that a lot. They'll give Eshu Aji and they'll say, somebody said, I should give you this. And the reason why they are doing that is because that person offended them and they want Eshu to punish them and to punish the person on their behalf. So they'll say, Eshu, this person said I should give you this. Please deal with him. So it's just like that. So if you are saying Eshu, I'm going out, pave the way for me. I don't want issues on the way. I don't want this. Eshu will make it happen like that. Just give Eshu what it wants. If you give Eshu what it does not want, it's going to do what you don't want. Okay. Fine. If you look at stories that surround Eshu and Shango, Eshu is corny, Eshu is not of what he does, but it does not mean he's totally a bad person. You know, humans, naturally, we can be nice. I'll bring it to the context of humans. We have so many people who are nice, who are very loving, but so I think one thing that we need to all put in mind is that it is the perception. Okay, so it is your perception to things that makes it happen. So if Christians see Eshu as bad, it's because that is their perception of Eshu. If an Onisheshe sees Eshu as good, it's because that is their perception of Eshu. It does not mean that Eshu is totally bad, and it does not mean Eshu is totally good. Eshu is a neutral person, just like humans. Eshu is not Satan. The translation is a beautiful one. It's just like Ajayi Crowther was 12, I guess. Yes, 12 is in the article I wrote when he was taking Wokweru. And he returned when he was much older. So a boy of 12 probably didn't know so much. Or do I say the things he was made to believe? Those things reflected in his writing, but nobody is criticizing Ajayi Crowther for doing that. Anybody would have done that.
Okay.
So we just need to correct the notion. And I'm glad that when you go to Google now, if you type translation of Eshu to English, you will find Eshu there. So Eshu is Eshu. It's just like saying Shango. Shango is Shango. Forget about the god of thunder part of it. Nobody tries to translate Shango. Nobody does. They can say god of thunder, well, god of A, god of B, fine. We can give Eshu, something like that as well. God of the junctions, T junctions, Onile Orita Eshu. But Nobody should say they want to say a should say tan, just like that. Don't do that. That's just the point.
Bring up an interesting point, because I've noticed not only in religion, but in other aspects of African studies, so I may look at philosophy, there's always a need to attach it to some Western thing, to say that, Orunmila is like Socrates, this is like when the Westerners did this system of governance was the same way the Greeks did this. And it seems to me that there is a fear on the part of people of African descent to stand on our own 2 feet and just say, this is the thing. And I think the way to look at it is, if we look at the literature of other peoples, the academic work of other people, they don't say, oh, when I'm speaking about this, it's like Shango, it's like Orunmila. Like, they don't check with you first before they say their own thing, before they present their own worldview. They just start speaking from their perspective. And so this need to find some kind of Western analogy to everything we do, to me, speaks a little bit to a lack of self-confidence, which I think connects very much to the language issue, right? I mean, this is why there's a struggle to get something as basic as a dictionary. It's because people don't think it's worth it. And I think that the point or the direction I wanted to go earlier when I asked about the economics is, I don't know that you can really build a strong economy where there is no self-value, because your economy, your productivity is a reflection of the interior. You produce out of your own capacity, and your capacity is yourself as the person. So if you don't value yourself, how are you going to produce something valuable, which is what a strong economy is? But sorry, I got on my soapbox there. And you're the one being interviewed, so please go ahead.
Okay. Great. So it's still on that same line. So that's why I said, okay. So I asked that question because, I mean, economy doesn't operate in a vacuum, right? There are certain things. I mean, we talk of the Japanese, they have some belief, they have some philosophy that made them so productive. So, and I feel these things are encapsulated in our tradition and culture, but because we have thrown them away, maybe it's a sure, it's this and that, we are just following the Western tradition and it's not working for us. So that's why I think, okay, so maybe in convincing the government, we may need to let them know that, look, so practice, if we see how that practice is today, people will behave differently. I would like to hear your views about that.
Yes, just your last point, that if some things are still in existence, people will behave differently. I remember when some people were trying to say that they want to elect a president into office, let him swear with Shango, let him swear with Eshu, that he will not misbehave. We know those things work. That is one point. We know those things work, but we don't want to use them because, like just Amma said, there's lack of confidence, and there's this iota of deceit, because we are still deceiving ourselves. We are still ready to go cut corners. That is why those things are still not functioning well. I wasn't even fighting for letting it happen in the presidential level, because it's more than one tribe in Nigeria. But in our Yoruba land, let governors swear with Ogun that they will not carry our money. They will not eat our money, like they used to say. Let them swear with Ongo that they will not squander the government funds, the public funds, and all of that. These people they fear those things a lot. That's why they won't let it happen. They do. And then when it comes to comparing our philosophies with the Western philosophies, because our people are still in bondage, and many people know the truth, but they don't want to say the truth. I don't know what they are scared of using, but they are not ready to say the truth. I remember when I joined the Issue is Not Satan campaign, I lost a lot of friends. They told me, oh, you've backsliding, you have left Christ, you have done A, you have done B, and all of that. No, And then I need to start explaining that H3 is not Satan. And they're like, okay, you want to call Makawe, you want to call Makoko, study Yoruba, and all of that. But because I studied Yoruba, my eye opened to a lot of things, and I knew those things were, there are a lot of things that are really wrong. But our people know they are wrong, and they are ready to keep pretending that as if those things are right. Forget about the fact that maybe they don't know. They know, but it is us now trying to free our minds, trying to come back home. No, they are not ready to come back home. They're not ready to come back to our initial culture the way it was. They are not ready because they know if those things come back to that way, they're probably not going to be able to embezzle funds. They won't be able to do certain things again. In the olden days, you can easily put your stalls on the way, put the amount people are going to pay, and then nobody's going to touch your money. That thing cannot happen again. It's not like it cannot happen. It is going to work, but they are not going to let it work. Because our people are so scared of losing public funds that is squander, losing relevance in the present day. They feel if those things go back, they will probably not be relevant again. Some things will not be relevant again.
Yeah.
But a lot of people know the truth. I've had conversations with so many people, and they know the truth. They're not just we're ready to keep pretending like everything is fine. We're pretending like, okay, we're contented with what we have at the moment. But they're pretending like we don't need to go back to the old. But we really need to go back to the start. We need to go back to the scratch. We need to go back to what it was.
Okay.
Speaking of things that are lost, and to go back to a point you had made earlier about math, slightly different topic than what you were just saying, but still relevant. When I learned the numbers, which I'm still struggling with, but as I'm studying the numbers, one of the things I realized is if you learn your numbers in Yoruba, it already teaches you arithmetic as you are learning it because of the way everything is broken up. So unlike in English where you learn the numbers, then you learn arithmetic, it's almost like the subject is put together. So this actually would give you an advantage in math compared to your Western counterparts, because you would begin your first grade with having a couple of skills ahead of each other. And so when I think about, the economic benefits, these are the kinds of things that, we could look at and consider. How do, within our treasure of ancestral knowledge, could we use to build ourselves? And I think some things perhaps we as Black people all over the world forget is Europeans are already themselves and Asians are already themselves. So when you come dressed up and doing something that is similar to them, maybe it's fine, but then they already know how to do that anyway. So for example, if I go to Nigeria, I'm not coming to eat pizza. Anybody who comes they're coming, to have what you can offer, right? So I already know that pizza comes from Italy. The best pasta sauce is going to come from there. They invented that. They've been doing it for hundreds of years.
Absolutely.
You're probably going to be as good at it as they are. But you know what you're going to be better at? Something that is original to you.
Wow.
And that's where your advantage is, not trying to be somebody else. You can't be them as good as they are being themselves, no matter how much you try. But if you can bring to the marketplace your own unique brand of yourself, your contribution, and whatever you produce out of yourself, that's where you're going to have something that they say, oh, I don't have that. Then people are interested in buying it. But why should I buy something that I can already make myself probably better than you?
True. Oh, so that's the business dynamics there that we are not considering.
Right. Right. I mean, a lot of times I feel like I see, I watch a lot of Nigerian movies, and I watch it, and sometimes I'm very uncomfortable, and I wonder how the people see it internally, because it seems to me it's like, oh, you're trying too hard to be like us, but you're not succeeding perfectly. Like, we're better at being that. Or you made a statement about, yesterday I was telling my friend, I watched this thing about, excuse me, I'm coming down with something. The lady was showing off like, oh, this champagne is from Paris, it's special. And it's like, no, all champagne is from Paris. If it's not from Paris, from France. All champagnes come from a city in France called Champagne. If it's not from that city, it's not champagne. It sounded very silly saying that. But I think it's like this imitation that doesn't work very well. Yeah. And when you try to export, I'm sorry, one more thing. Somebody talked about, the tankers come to Nigeria full because they're importing, and then they go out from Nigeria empty. I mean, and to me, this might seem like, oh, language, what does this have to do? Well, what are you producing? You're consuming everybody else's stuff, their language, their products. What are you producing? You have to produce, and you can only really produce what people are interested in from your own resources, from your own identity. And so if not, you're just giving them an imitation of what they already have. Well, they already have it. That's why you're buying it, because they already have it.
Absolutely.
Did you want to respond to that? I don't know if you had any thought about that.
Well, when it comes to the Yoruba movie industry, we have said a lot of things. We have told them to just try to portray the real us. They speak English that is not even it. They speak bad English. Speak our Yoruba. I do subtitles. I've subtitled over 40 movies before I really paused. I didn't stop. I paused because the pay was not worth it. So I'm not going to go back to the pay. I want to talk about one of the reasons why I stopped. They would speak Yoruba in English in the movies, and when it's time for me to transcribe, I'll tell them, okay, since you already spoke Yoruba English in this movie, let's transcribe to Yoruba. At least you already have English audience, let's have the Yoruba audience to say, no, just put the English there like that. I'm like, why do we have to?
And that would see, and I would appreciate, but that's something that a Westerner would appreciate, right? Because again, we already have what you are selling. So give me something I don't have. Like I would love, it would help me with my Yoruba. I would really appreciate it.
So when I saw that they are not really conforming with my ideas, I have to take a pause. So if you want me to transcribe your movie and you're speaking English and you would not allow me to transcribe it with your Yoruba, then I'll allow you go with your project. Because I don't want projects that people would see, Iya Yoruba did this, and it's still not speaking value. I am committed. I used to tell people, I am committed to raising a beautiful, unique generation of Yoruba speakers. Generation of Yoruba speakers already, and the new ones who are trying, want them to be generations that can speak, that can write, that can read Yoruba perfectly without teaching, not those that would write Yoruba the wrong way.
Okay. So how long have you been doing this, by the way?
Everything I've been doing, well, I started as a volunteer translator. My final year project in the university in 2014-15 was translation of a novel. I translated a novel into Yoruba, and that novel spoke. If you should read, maybe when we publish the novel and you try to read it in Yoruba, you will not believe it's the original story. You would not believe it's a translated story because it spoke really deep in Yoruba. And then I used to see myself translating a lot of things. I like it when I sharpen my translation skills. So I started with translations, and after my compulsory national service, I did transcription, and then I went full-time into tutoring. So at the moment, I started as at 2014 as a volunteer. 2015, 2016, I started doing my own thing, and in 2018, officially, I built the Alamoja Yoruba brand.
So since you've been doing this for a few years, are you optimistic? Do you feel that you are winning hearts and minds to the issue? Are people change
Yes.
their minds.
Yes, people are really, the narrative is beginning to change. People are beginning to see the usefulness of them using their languages. For example, I mentioned people of, trying to westernize their names the other time. The moment I tried saying those things, people are changing. They are actually beginning to see these things. They are saying that, oh, we've been doing the wrong thing. Okay, so let's change. Let's start putting our names right. I've had people who have contracted me to teach them just the tone man, just the tones. And the reason why they want to do the tones is because whenever they write Yoruba, they want to write it well.
Yeah.
I've had people who are telling me, please put the diacritic on my names for me. I want to put it on social media. I want my name to show the right way. So people are really changing. So many people are making their children learn Yoruba now. I had parents who were saying, oh, it's not necessary. They will learn it when they grow up. And now they are coming back to learn Yoruba. So it's changing.
Okay.
It's changing. Even parents are learning Yoruba now.
I'm glad to
They
hear.
are saying, I want to start speaking Yoruba to my children. So it's really changing, it's improving. And I'm sure in the next 5, 10 years, it's going to be better than what it is now because we're not going to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for you. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for being with us. I really appreciate it. And thank you for our guests, for our viewers who have been watching this. And I hope that you have found this as enlightening and educational as we have. We are going to put her information in the description box. Please reach out to learn more about how you can learn Yoruba, especially if you are a person of African descent from the diaspora who was disconnected from our ancestral past. Language is not just a tool, it is an expression of your deepest self and your history. One of the things that I noticed as I've been learning, and I'm very new to this, but the word ogu, and I'm mispronouncing it, and she's can correct me and saying this, but I realize like its connection to similarities to the word numbers, war, medicine, and it really kind of speaks like the fact that that one term has all of these connections shows how important that notion is to the language and the people. And that's something you can only gather. So in learning a language, you almost get a sense of who these people are. And in this case, who you are and what matters to your community. And that can't be done without language. So I encourage everybody to take up the challenge of learning an African language. If not Yoruba, then absolutely another one. It's been a pleasure. Please share, like, and subscribe this video. Hope to see you next time. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Bye.